From having 6 professional wins to being on the winning team of the Ryder Cup twice, Tony Finau is one of the top players on the PGA Tour despite being relatively young. His exploits on the golf course might be common news, but from his large family to his even larger net worth, there is way more to the Samoan golfer than meets the eye. And all that and more is what we have for you in this video. So make sure you stick around as we take you through the exciting lifestyle of Tony Finau, not only as an extremely wealthy golfer, but also as a family man. Have you ever met a Samoan? If you have, you'd know that they are very family-oriented people. Even famous ones like Dwayne Johnson, Jason Momoa, and Taika Waititi. It's little surprise then that Tony Finau grew up in such a large family and has patterned his life after that culture. First things first though, Tony Finau really isn't named Tony. He was born Milton Puha Finau in September 1989 in Salt Lake City, Utah to his father Kalepi Finau and his mother Ravina Finau. Yeah, he is American, but his original roots are Tongan and Samoan, making him the first player of this ethnicity to play in the PGA Tour. Quite an achievement. Kalepi Finau, Tony's dad, was 11 years old when his father, Sione Tonga Finau, brought his family of 10 from the shores of Tonga to Los Angeles in January 1974. The family moved into a tiny house in Inglewood, and his father mowed lawns and took care of people's yards to make ends meet, encouraging his children to take advantage of the land of opportunity he had brought them to. This motivation was essentially what got Sione's grandson to the limelight many years later. But before then, Kalepi and Ravina, Tony's mom, met as teammates on a co-ed volleyball team that traveled for tournaments around Southern California. Funny how Ravina's parents, too, had met under similar circumstances as students and volleyball players at BYU, Hawaii. So it was more of fate that Kalepi and Ravina would get married, and they did in 1985, settled in Southern California, where they had their first 2 children, before merging between Delta Airlines, where Kalepi worked as a baggage handler, and Salt Lake City-based Western Airlines enabled them to move to Utah. They already had a lot of relatives in Utah, with a tight-knit Tongan community who mostly shared the same faith with the Finaus. So it was a no-brainer to move there. And upon moving there in early 1989, Tony was born later in the year, and less than a year after, his younger brother, a twin of sort, according to their mother, Kalepi Jr., also known as Gipper, was born. So Tony grew up with Gipper and 5 other siblings, Kelvin, Pianola, Tavita, Helala, and Kayleen. He has quite a large family now. Now, here's the thing. Samoans don't play golf. Go to the NFL or the NBA. The list of Samoans there are endless, particularly in the NFL. Statistically, a Samoan male is 56 times more likely to play in the NFL than an American non-Samoan. And the numbers don't lie. 2 of Tony's cousins, Haloti Nada and Sione Puha, who lived down the street from them, now play in the NFL. Another relative, Stanley Havili, got a football scholarship to USC, and the list goes on. How then did Tony Finau find himself on the greens? It all started during the spring of 1997. 7-year-old Tony sat on the couch in his family's apartment in Rose Park and watched Tiger Woods, only 21 years old at the time, lording the golf course at the Masters. It was the first ever golf match he had watched, and what he saw wasn't mere television. It was a vision. Speaking about the surreal experience, he said, "I saw this kid who was the same color as me. I saw his fist pumping and wearing the green jacket. He made the game look so cool. I looked at it and I'm like, man, maybe I can do that someday. Maybe I can play in the Masters." It was a crazy dream, to be honest. Other than the social awkwardness of a Tongan playing golf, his father didn't make nearly enough from working at the airport to take care of their large family of 9 and buy golf balls or golf clubs. And there was the not-so-tiny issue of who would even teach Tony how to play golf. But Kalepi, his dad, was willing to take up the job of being his golf coach. When you consider his dad not even being able to play and never having coached, you'd wonder what a farce this was going to be. However, Tony wasn't alone in this quest. His younger brother Gipper had taken up an interest and was way better than Tony. So, with their dad's ambition and motivation, their mothers wanting to keep them occupied so as to avoid the violent lifestyle of youths in their neighborhood, they were going to make it work. From using cheaper thrift golf equipment, the right motivation, years of hard work and devotion, sprinkled with the application of general sporting knowledge from their dad/coach, and an ever-important instruction Bible, legendary golfer Jack Nicklaus's Golf My Way, to Tony passing on attending a high school with an established golf program in favor of West High School that was closer to home but lacked a golf team or coach, they did make it work. By Tony's junior year, he had led his high school to its first state golf championship in 114 years. And in his senior year, he won the Utah State Amateur Championship, defeating future PGA Tour player Daniel Summerhays in the 36-hole championship match at the age of 16. As soon as Tony graduated high school, he turned professional, making a ballsy move of turning down golf scholarship offers from Stanford and BYU and basketball scholarships from Weber State and Utah State to take part in a Las Vegas made-for-TV golf event that saw him win $100,000 and a Callaway sponsorship deal and get on his way to the PGA Tour. As they say, the rest is history. Not to say Tony has had it easy, though. Far from it. He struggled through the PGA Tour's qualifying school for 6 years before making it through, dealt with his mother's agonizing death in 2011, and had to take a 2-month break from the course due to being hospitalized with a stomach ulcer, and toiled in lower minor leagues including eGolf Tour, the Canadian Tour, the Gateway Tour, NGA Hooters Tour, and National Pro Tour. Since making it into the PGA Tour for the 2014-15 season, the first person of Tongan or Samoan descent ever to do so, Tony Finau has won the Puerto Rico Open, the Korn Ferry Tour, the 3M Open, the Northern Trust, the Rocket Mortgage Classic, the Cadence Bank Houston Open, and also has a 5th place in the 2018 U.S. Open as his highest finish in a major tournament. He has also been on 2 Ryder Cup winning teams in 2018 and 2021, as well as 2 President's Cup winning teams in 2019 and 2022. He might have nearly missed out on many tournament wins, but one way Big Tone is not missing is his finances. In less than 6 years in the PGA Tour, Tony is already making his way to the top of the all-career earnings money list, ranking 27th already with over $33 million in earnings on the course alone. Is that all? Nope. Adding up his career earnings outside of the PGA, his total career earnings are about $40 million. Remember, he only went pro in 2007. Even when Tony is not swinging golf clubs, he is still learning. How? Well, apart from his long-time multi-million-dollar deal with Nike, a very lucrative deal with the golf club company Ping, and his deal with the international pest control company Aptiv Environmental, he also has some mouth-watering deals with Under Armour, Rolex, TaylorMade, and NetJets. Altogether, he has a whopping estimated net worth of $13 million, and it's certain to keep on growing as he gathers more career wins. Remember what we said about Samoans and large families? Tony wants to continue the tradition and once expressed his desire to have about 6 children. Already, he has 5 with his lovely wife, Elena Finau. Elena was born in August 1990 and grew up with her 4 siblings, Aja, Adrienne, Alethea, and Tipa Jessie, and their parents, Tipa and Talila Gigalia, near Honolulu. She attended Kahuku High and was an avid athlete, being a star volleyball player. She went on to attend California's Notre Dame de Namur University and played on the volleyball team during her time there. She met Tony in 2010 at a New Year's Eve event in Utah, where she was visiting some relatives, and 2 years later, they were married and had their first son, Drace, in 2011. Since their marriage, the couple has welcomed 4 other children: Laylene, Aja, Tony Jr., Sage, and Sienna V. A large family just like his father's and his grandfather before him. The proper Samoan way. Tony's identical Irish twin brother Gipper, who was a very promising young golfer, even better than Tony, made the cut for Utah's nationwide tour, now Web.com, in 2007 at age 16, becoming the 3rd youngest player to ever do so, but still hasn't made it to the PGA or any major tour. Speaking of large families, Tony is also a cousin to the NBA's Boston Celtics player Jabari Parker and former NFL football player Haloti Ngata. Ever wondered why Tony Finau is called Big Tone? One look at his massive size, standing at 6 feet 4 and weighing 200 pounds, you'd understand why he was expected to play basketball or football. He might look menacing, but he's a big softy. Even once voted number 2 in Golf Digest's top 30 nice guys of the PGA Tour, behind only Jordan Spieth. Way back in 2016, when he was a newbie on the PGA Tour, one of his iconic drives hit a spectator on the head, causing her to need stitches during an event in Fort Worth, Texas. What he did afterward was so wholesome. He found the woman's house and visited with flowers, chocolates, and a get well card for her, which she thanked him for on her social media. What a man! On a larger scale, Tony also founded the Tony Finau Foundation, funded by a percentage of his winnings that go toward helping underprivileged kids in his hometown, Rose Park. He also visits the 6 elementary schools in his old home yearly, featuring himself as a 6'4" show and tell, and showing a 3-minute clip about his career and accomplishments to inspire the kids. What a man! If you enjoyed this video about Tony Finau's family man lifestyle, gigantic net worth, check out the video on the screen now, or the one we posted below, because we're sure you'll like that one too. See you there!